The stone of the castle wall vibrated against Barnaby's back, a rhythmic thrumming of dark magic that felt like a dying heartbeat. Across the courtyard, 12 cloaked figures moved with predatory precision, their wands carving arcs of jagged violet light through the freezing mist. Barnaby wiped a mixture of sweat and soot from his eyes, counting the seconds. 3 minutes until the secondary wards over the herbology wing collapsed, and he was the only thing standing between the invaders and the soft, undefended underbelly of the school. His wand hand was shaking, the wood of his hazel wand slick with his own blood from a grazing curse, and he knew he had exactly 4 defensive spells left in him before his magical core hit the wall of total exhaustion. The attackers weren't regular Death Eaters. They were the Remnant, a group of mercenaries who had perfected a terrifying high-speed movement curse known as the Shadow Slide. They didn't walk, they glided across the ground at 60 miles per hour, blurred shapes that physical barriers couldn't catch and standard hexes couldn't track. Everyone at Hogwarts had always joked that Barnaby, a Hufflepuff who spent more time cleaning slug slime than practicing dueling, would be the first to fall if the war ever returned to their gates. They mocked his obsession with Arestia Viscus, a low-level cleaning charm used primarily to stop runaway magical slugs in the greenhouses. It was a spell that even first years found beneath them, a ridiculous, tiny bit of domestic magic. If you want to know how this forgotten wizard turned a useless cleaning spell into Hogwarts' last defense, stay with me until the end of this story. The timeline of this breach was a messy footnote in the larger history of the wizarding world. It happened during a cold October night, months after the world thought the darkness had been truly defeated. Barnaby was in the greenhouses late, as usual, tending to the fanged geraniums, because no one else remembered to feed them. He was a boy characterized by his silence and his dirt-under-the-fingernails loyalty, the kind of student professors forgot to call on and peers used as a punchline. He was the boy who failed his intermediate dueling exams because he was too focused on the physics of spellcasting rather than the raw power of it. Now, that lack of power was a death sentence. A bolt of red light shattered the stone urn 6 inches from Barnaby's head. He rolled, his boots skidding on the damp grass. He could see the leader of the Remnant now, a tall man with a jagged scar across his throat, already beginning the incantation for the Shadow Slide. The mercenaries began to liquefy, their bodies turning into streaks of oily darkness that hugged the ground. They were 300 yards away, then 200, closing the distance in a matter of heartbeat thumps.
Barnaby's mind raced through the tactical variables: distance, velocity, friction. He had tried to explain the importance of surface tension to the dueling club once, and they had laughed him out of the room. They told him magic was about the will to conquer, not the science of the floor. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, cracked vial of concentrated mandrake mucus, another item his classmates called disgusting. His heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. He knew he only had one shot at this. If he mistimed the incantation by even a half second, the Shadow Slide would carry the mercenaries right through his chest. He felt the cold air biting at his lungs, the smell of ozone and wet earth filling his senses. He thought of the common room, the warmth of the fire, and the way his housemates looked at him with pitying smiles. He wasn't doing this for glory. He was doing it because the geraniums needed someone to protect the glass. If this forgotten legend of Hogwarts is already touching your heart and you'd like to help keep these stories alive, you can support the channel by clicking the thanks button below the video. Every little bit helps me continue bringing you more hidden tales of courage and magic. The first of the shadows hit the edge of the courtyard, moving so fast the air whistled behind it. Barnaby didn't cast a shield charm. He didn't cast a stunning spell.
Instead, he dropped to one knee and slammed his hazel wand into the flagstones beneath him. "Arestia Viscus," he whispered. He didn't shout it, he breathed it, pouring every ounce of his remaining stamina into the specific rhythmic vibration of the charm.
The spell didn't fly towards the enemies. Instead, it rippled outward across the stones, a shimmering, translucent film that looked like nothing more than a wet floor. To the attackers, it was a joke. They didn't even slow down. The leader, his eyes wide with a murderous joy, hit the edge of Barnaby's spell zone at full velocity. In the wizarding world, the shadow slide works by reducing the friction between the caster and the world to 0, allowing them to glide on the fabric of magic itself. But Barnaby's slug charm didn't just add friction, it created a localized zone of infinite magical viscosity. It was a spell designed to stop creatures that could ignore gravity. The result was cinematic and horrific. The leader hit the zone, and his momentum didn't just stop, it was violently reclaimed by the earth. Because his body was moving at 60 miles per hour, and his feet suddenly became anchored to the stone with the grip of 1,000 mountain trolls, the kinetic energy had nowhere to go. The leader was flipped forward with such force that he became a human projectile, his own momentum tearing him from the shadow state and slamming him into the reinforced oak doors of the greenhouse.
The other 11 attackers, unable to steer in their slide state, followed suit. It was a tactical pile-up of magical proportions. Barnaby watched, his vision blurring, as the unstoppable mercenaries were undone by a cleaning charm. One by one, they hit the viscosity zone and were catapulted into the air or flattened against the ground, their bones snapping under the weight of their own diverted speed. The ridiculous idea that you could defeat a high-speed curse by focusing on the floor rather than the wizard had worked. Barnaby stood up, his legs feeling like lead. He saw the last of the mercenaries trying to crawl away, his legs stuck firmly to the flagstones as if fused to the rock. The man looked up at Barnaby with a mixture of terror and confusion. He couldn't understand how a boy in a mud-stained Hufflepuff robe had broken a master-level movement curse with a spell used for garden maintenance. Barnaby didn't say a word. He just stood there, holding his wand steady, until the sound of running footsteps announced the arrival of the late-night patrol. When the Auras and Professor Flitwick finally reached the courtyard, they found 12 of the world's most dangerous mercenaries incapacitated, literally glued to the floor or broken against the walls. Barnaby was sitting on a stone bench, quietly cleaning his glasses with a corner of his robe. He didn't give a grand speech.
When Flitwick asked how he had held them off, Barnaby simply said, "The floor was a bit messy, Professor. I just tidied it up." He spent the rest of the night in the infirmary, largely ignored as the ministry officials swarmed the castle to take credit for the security success. Madame Pomfrey gave him a chocolate frog and told him he was lucky he hadn't been hurt worse. No medals were issued, no special awards were carved into the stone. In the official records, the event was listed as a failed breach due to faulty equipment on the part of the mercenaries. Only a few people knew the truth, that the castle had been saved by the boy who was too stupid to learn a proper shield charm. The value of insignificant magic is often the most overlooked force in our world. We spend so much time looking for the brightest stars and the loudest spells that we forget the quiet strength of those who simply know how to hold their ground. Barnaby didn't need a legendary sword or an ancient prophecy. He just needed a bit of slug slime and the courage to be underestimated. The cost of doing the right thing when no one is watching is often silence, but in that silence, a hero is forged. If this forgotten legend of Hogwarts touched your heart, tell me in the comments. What would you have done in Barnaby's place? Like the video, share it with another Harry Potter fan, and subscribe to hear more hidden stories of courage, magic, and impossible odds.
Sometimes the smallest spell is the one that saves the castle. This is a fan fiction story and does not belong to the Harry Potter canon. The official ministry reports never mentioned the viscosity of the stones or the way the mercenaries had been anchored to the earth by a cleaning charm. Instead, they spoke of structural failures and tactical errors, burying Barnaby's contribution under layers of bureaucratic ink. Yet, in the years that followed, the legend of the greenhouses grew among the students who actually looked at the world. They noticed how the flagstones hummed whenever a threat drew near. Barnaby had left more than just a clean floor. He had left a permanent lesson in the power of the overlooked. He was the hero.